Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Langer at the Mic Live, this Habs post-game show here on Langer at the Mic Live. And the Canadiens, they were down behind. They fell behind 2-0, and then they fell behind 3-1. But ultimately, they came all the way back, and they tied it up at 3-3 with just over a minute left when Tyler Toffoli scored the game-tying goal, his 18th of the year. But the overtime woes just continue with this hockey team, man. That is 8 games that the Montreal Canadiens have now lost outside of regulation. I believe that means that they now have more games that they've lost outside of regulation than in regulation this year, 2021. So I'm going to try something new for this show here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record this with a little bit more, just my instant live reaction. The game just ended about 5-10 minutes ago, so I'm going to give my live reaction here. Usually I'll do a little bit more of a breakdown of the stats and of my notes and all that, but I'm going to still have my notes a little bit on the side here, but it's going to be a little bit more raw and unfiltered. So we'll see how that goes. So thank you so much for tuning in if you already are. And yeah, let's break this down right away. This honestly, the first thing that stands out to me out of this game is that the Canadiens, they didn't deserve that point that they got. They didn't. They didn't deserve that point that they got from tying it up because, I mean, they deserved it because they fought all the way back, and that's a credit to their character. But with the way they played in the first period, man, like that was just another brutal first period. Like 50 seconds in, right away, like the theme of tonight in the defensive zone, just the Canadiens have been struggling pretty much all of the since their struggles that started with the Ottawa game, with the reverse retro game, like in that losing streak. And until now, the Canadiens, their struggles have been breaking out of their defensive zone. Even in Monday's game, Monday's game where they beat the Jets, it was a close game because the Canadiens, they just struggled to get out of their defensive zone. I mean, the Jets scored 2 on the power play, but still, they gave me anxiety trying to break out of their zone. And tonight, it didn't cost them so much on Monday, but it cost them tonight in the form of all 3 goals pretty much led to the Habs just not being able to break out of their zone. The first one, it was, forgot what set up. I think it was like a pass from Edmondson to that Weber missed behind the net that the Jets kept in, and they hemmed the Canadiens in their zone 50 seconds. And naturally the 5 guys on the ice were tired, and it was capped off by Josh Anderson on the first goal by Blake Wheeler there, just completely not defending that pass from the D-man, which I think was Morrissey to Wheeler, and then like half poke checking Wheeler on like the shot that he scored on. I mean, in Anderson's defense, again, they were on the ice for 50 seconds, but they were just lost there. And then the second goal that the Jets scored, again, just a clear breakout pass that just completely missed, right? Like they completely missed their breakout where it was Romanov flat-footed, or Romanov trying to clear it, and what was it again? It was Willette falling into Carey Price. It was a simple breakout pass that was misexecuted that got turned over. Oh yeah, it was Romanov trying to pass it to Gallagher, where Gallagher was just, his stick was not in proper position. / Romanov just didn't make a good pass, and turnover. And Jets, with their most talented players on the ice, they got the Habs shorthanded on a 3-on-2, and Willette decided to run into Carey Price. And, Kyle Connor, who is basically the father of the Montreal Canadiens right now, scored another one on the Montreal Canadiens to make it 2-0. And the Habs, to their credit, they had a good pushback in the second period. And Thomas Tatar, by the way, played this was Thomas Tatar's best game of the year. Like that play that he made when the Habs did find a way to break out of their zone and did find a way to display their speed through the neutral zone. That was started, like the Danault goal was started because Thomas Tatar made a really nice sneaky play, quick play off the boards that was well in sync with Danault and with what they were trying to accomplish in breaking out of their zone. Danault goes down the wing, 2-on-1, sprung loose, and Danault made the right decision to shoot. He made the right decision to shoot because there was no passing lane to Tatar, and that was a really good shot by Danault, which, with how much he struggled to score goals this year, that was only his second of the year. And with how long it took him to score his first, great for Phillip Danault to finally bury that second goal of the year to make it 2-1. And the Canadiens, over the course of that second period, were, again, they handled the Jets a little bit better, but then they got plagued by their inability to break out of their zone again, because this time it was Jeff Petrie I wouldn't blame so much Jeff Petrie on this one. I mean, I kind of do because he was the one that turned the puck over. But I remember they were like watching the replay on RDS and Marc Denis and Pierre Houd saying how every single Canadiens player on the ice had their back turned to Jeff Petrie. So where's Jeff Petrie going to pass the puck? So to me, if I'm in Jeff Petrie, so that's not on Jeff Petrie, but where I do blame Jeff Petrie is if there's nowhere to pass it to, you're a good skater, skate with it out, or ice the puck. Worst case, you take a face off in your own zone, which is not great and you can't change, but sure as heck is better than turning it over against Pierre-Luc Dubois and Kyle Connor on the ice. And then Petrie was late getting back into position. But once again, when you turn the puck over unexpectedly and you can't correct your mistake fast enough, that's what happens. You don't get back. You're caught out of position. And Kyle Connor beat Jeff Petrie back to the front of the net. Nick Suzuki, by the way, was out of position defending Pierre-Luc Dubois, who walked in and took the shot that bounced off Price's pad, which was buried by Kyle Connor. But again, just simple, like the Canadiens in their passing game tonight, especially in the first period, was awful. There was a stat on RDS. Again, I watched these games on RDS during the week, obviously Sportsnet during the weekends, but so there's a stat where the Habs had under 50% completion percentage in taking pucks to the neutral zone, or in passes in the neutral zone. So they were completely dominated in the neutral zone the first period. But to their credit, they changed things up in the second period. They got their speed more on display. They were more in sync, and their passes were a little bit better, except on that second Kyle Connor goal. And to their credit, they kept pushing the Jets a little bit more and more and more on their heels as the game went along. They really turned things up in the third period, firing pucks left and right at Connor Hellebuyck. And honestly, I really like the way that Dominique Ducharme adjusted with his lines. He saw that Byron, Evans, and Yoel Armia weren't doing anything. So guess what? That became the new fourth line, and Corey Perry got the well-deserved promotion to the third line. I mean, it's, just from fourth line to third line, but it's still a big deal because he was basically rotating those top three lines and not the fourth line as often. And yeah, we just have a comment here from NSiegs94. Better to force a face-off than let the other team take the puck in your own zone. Stop the momentum. Exactly. Stop the momentum of the play. Slow things down. Regroup. Even if you can't change, even if it's a face-off in your own zone, better than turning the puck over and having to fix things in 2 seconds versus taking a breath and at least resetting at a face-off. Much better. Just take the icing, take the face-off in your own zone, reset when things aren't going well. But again, the Canadiens in the third period, they outshot the Jets 17-10 in the third period. The Habs did. And that's where, again, credit to their character, credit to, honestly, their depth for getting back into the game, for pulling back in. Credit Brendan Gallagher. That whole line, that reunited line of Danault, Tatar, and Gallagher. Like, that was the face-off where Danault, by the way, Danault, one thing that he's been struggling this year, which has been very disappointing with Danault, has been his face-off ability. I feel like he's not as reliable on face-offs this year compared to years past, and he lost that face-off, but credit Brendan Gallagher for doing what Brendan Gallagher does so well and hustling, winning the puck battle, and just bearing it on Connor Hellebuyck. And it all happened, honestly, so fast that Connor Hellebuyck just wasn't ready to defend it. And I'm just trying to back myself up on that claim of Danault not being as good on faceoffs here. But yeah, again, credit the Habs. They pulled within 3-2 with that goal. Then they made it 3-3. This is the second time, the second time this year where they successfully pull the goalie. They successfully just completely pinned the Jets, or pinned their opponent. It was the Jets the previous time, in their defensive zone. They defended it well against the Jets when they were up by 1 goal on Monday, but the Jets, they got them all over the place. It was a great play by Perry, by Josh Anderson, by basically the 2 or 3 of the biggest Habs forwards in the corner to win the puck battle, to get the puck towards the net, to finally find Tyler Toffoli with his 18th of the year tied it at 3-3. And then, of course, we had the issue of overtime once again. And starting, here's the thing, though, like Jeff Petrie, obviously, look, good overtime player, but like Phillip Danault, you put him out there to win the faceoff, and he can't even win you the faceoff. Then you put Byron, who's been playing on your fourth line. Okay, Paul Byron has speed, but why are you putting in Paul Byron and Phillip Danault in overtime over Gallagher, Kotkaniemi, Suzuki, Drouin? Like, why? And but then again, my counterpoint to that is I feel the Habs are just playing with such low confidence. Danault was 50% on faceoffs, by the way, tonight, 6 for 12, which you still want him to be a little bit better as one of the only guys who can consistently win faceoffs on this team. So anyway, going back to the overtime, though, the Habs are just, I feel like it wouldn't really matter who you put on the ice because the Habs are just playing with such low confidence in overtime right now. And the Jets do have that much more game-breaking talent than the Canadiens do. So that's how it translates to them being better or having a better chance to win the Canadiens in overtime. And credit the Canadiens, honestly, for credit Danault and Petrie for setting up that scoring chance that they got, where Petrie won his path to the net, to the front of the net. And the Habs have won in overtime, or Petrie has scored overtime goals like that in the past. But to me, the issue, like when watching that replay, Jeff Petrie, I know it's a tough play because you're on your weak side. It's not a one-timer, and Petrie had to barely win his battle in front of the net to bank it on net. But he kind of shot it at Connor Hellebuyck. Credit Hellebuyck for making the save. Credit Petrie for making that play happen. But if he pushes it a little bit more to the glove side, that's a goal because Connor Hellebuyck wouldn't have stopped that. But then, of course, goes back the other way and 3-on-1. And at that point, Nikolaj Ehlers made the same decision that Tyler Toffoli made on Monday. A shot first mentality, even though it's a 2-on-1, 3-on-1, 3-on-0 situation. And he buried it on Carey Price. And I'll be honest, and I'm still rocking my number 31 from 2008 that I've had these last, 12, 13 years. But that's kind of a goal that you want Carey Price to stop, like kind of. And he made some really big saves in this game. Don't get me wrong. Price made some really big saves in this game, especially the one on Kyle Connor in the third period where he split out to his right and he basically stopped it with his jock strap. Like it was a rebound that landed right to Kyle Connor, who won his battle in front of the net. And again, Price stretching out, made the save with his jockstrap. Essentially, that was a huge save that Price made. And he also had to bail out Shea Weber, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, for a bad pinch in the first period where Paul Stastny, there was a pass across, I forget which Jets player came out with it. He passed it across to Stastny, and Price made a really nice blocker save on that. So you can't really fault Price too much for this because at least in regulation, Price did everything that he could to give the Canadiens the chance to come back and tie it up and eventually have the chance to win. But look, Price will be the first one to tell you that he'll want that goal back. But anyway, I don't want to talk too much about Price in this one because Price has been phenomenal these last 6-7 games. And I tweeted this. Maybe I could take the blame for jinxing it because I tweeted after he switched to his white pads that he would go, I think, 7-2-1 with like a 1.55 goals against average and a 947 save percentage and 2 shutouts. So I might have jinxed the shutouts and the at least consistency when I quote tweeted myself from yesterday. But all this to say, moving along from Carey Price, back to the breakout problems. The Canadiens have issues on defense right now. Like Shea Weber is just bad right now. You just like I've been quiet about criticizing Shea Weber, but tonight was another game where like 2 of those goals or one of those goals for sure, and another one that very well could have happened are directly a result of Shea Weber's just bad decision making with the puck on his stick, and like the goal that went in on Jake Allen against the Flames 2 or 3 games ago, right? Where Shea Weber just stupidly passed it up the middle, something you should never, ever, ever do as a defenseman. But and there was a play like that where he had to be bailed out by Gallagher and Suzuki, who were playing their defensive forward positions properly, and had to bail out Shea Weber on that one. And again, like I said, Price had to bail out Shea Weber for a bad pinch early in the first period. So basically, the Canadiens, they need more from their captain, plain and simple. Like Shea Weber is ice time. I mean, if you I'll double check his ice time here. Probably well into the 20 minutes. Yeah, 25 minutes for a 36-year-old defenseman. Maybe give him like 20 minutes. Give Petrie like all that ice time. Petrie's still eating up the minutes at 22. So maybe give those 25 minutes to Petrie and the 22 minutes to Weber. Maybe if Weber's going to keep playing like he did tonight. And then Romanov and Ouellet, man, they were an adventure tonight. Xavier Ouellet, to his credit, and I talked about this on last game's show, and I forgot to, by the way, going back to Carey Price for a second, congratulations for his 700th game. Last game, his 701st tonight, which wasn't as good. But going back again to Romanov and Ouellet, to his credit, was good last game. I feel like he played steady. He played very uneventfully, which is good as a sixth defenseman. But when he and Romanov were on the ice tonight, man, oh boy, it was an adventure. It was. They were on the spin cycle defending their zone tonight, and there was another. Don't forget the play where Willette. Okay, he blocked the shot and could and arguably saved the goal by blocking one with his back. And there was another play where Romanov had to do a diving play to block up or cover a 2-on-1 or 3-on-1, whatever it was in the second period, I want to say, or the first period. But it was just not good it was just not a good game for Willette and Romanov, and essentially Weber and Edmondson as well. The only good defensemen on the Habs tonight were Petrie and Kulak, and it's kind of reminiscent of what you saw from the bubble, where Petrie and Kulak working well together, just because two dynamic, two good skating defensemen, two big good skating defensemen. Okay, Kulak's not perfect, maybe in his own zone, and they both kind of give up the puck sometimes, but they both join in on the attack. They both they play well off each other. Like, they take chances like at the right times. They back each other up when they do. But yeah, just look, the Canadiens at this point, calling up Cale Fleury can't hurt you, can it? Right now, I mean, he's a right-handed shot, so you could put him on the right side of that third pairing with Romanov, or put Kulak down there, maybe. Right? Like, it can't hurt you that much more than having Mete or Willette in the lineup if they're going to play the way, at least if Mete's going to play the way he's been playing, and if Willette's going to play the way he played tonight, right? Like, it can't hurt you to call up Fleury, can it? So, a couple of other notes here. Again, just doing this purely off the cuff right now. And thank you for obviously tuning in to listen to my rant, and leave a comment, of course, whichever style you prefer. If you enjoy me just kind of ranting off like this versus going through my notes a little bit more thoroughly like I usually do, leave a comment. Let me know which style you prefer. But this has definitely been fun, and thank you again for tuning in. A couple more things I want to get to, though. The face-offs weren't good tonight as well. The Canadiens, they just got dominated in the face-off circle, which has been a problem all year. But tonight they were 46% in the face-off circle. At one point, I think it was like 42 to 68%, 42 to 58%. Yeah, that math makes sense. Or 30 to 60% in favor of the Jets, which is a problem. But yeah, like, the face-offs have been an issue all year for the Habs. But what was good for the Habs tonight was the PK. After the PK was an issue against the Jets on Monday, the Habs, at least, they kept it down. The Jets were 0 for 2 on the power play. The Habs didn't get a power play goal, but at least their power plays kind of allowed them to build off of momentum, or create positive momentum instead of drain whatever energy they had going. And I think I also want to mention here real quick, just the passing was an issue all night, pretty much, especially in the first period. It got better later in the game, but in the first period, it was awful. So that's good. That's good. And just honestly, at this point, the two biggest big picture issues for me, I mean, on top of the defense, like we talked about tonight, with the turnovers and the breakouts, but to me, it's the overtime. They got the same way they practice penalty shots at the end of practice for shootout purposes, and the 3 shootouts or 4 shootouts, whatever many it's been this year that they've had, hasn't really worked out too well. But overtimes, they gotta have some answers for overtime. And it has to start with putting more talented players out there than Philip Deneau and Paul Byron. Even though Philip Deneau scored tonight, you got to put someone else out there. Byron was a fourth line forward, and I wouldn't have been surprised if Armia had gotten a shift in overtime over Brendan Gallagher, as was the case a couple games ago. So put your most talented players on in overtime. That would be a good first step, and figure out whatever tactically, whether it's choosing when to be aggressive versus when not to be, figure that out. And then also figure out the game-to-game consistency. Because while the Habs have been picking up points in all these overtime losses, since Dominique Ducharme took over, it's been loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, if I'm not mistaken. I'm kind of, again, off the top of my head. There's the two losses in a row to Calgary, of course, in Calgary, but now it's been, besides that, has been win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. So, and the Habs have not been on a winning streak since they beat the Vancouver Canucks in back-to-back games on February 1st and 2nd. So, That's a concern, because if you're going to get into the playoffs and if you're going to lose, well, that's losing a 7-game series right there. So the Canadiens have to find a way to start getting wins strung together, go on some kind of winning streak, because I wouldn't say they're in a funk right now. Like, they haven't lost 5 in a row. They haven't lost 3 in a row. It's not like it was a month ago, but they have to get better results consistently from game to game to game to game to really make sure they solidify themselves in this North Division and to solidify themselves when they get to the playoffs. So that way they can win a playoff series instead of go lose, win, lose, win, lose, and lose in 6 games or lose in 7 games that way. But anyway, that's all I got for tonight here on this Langer at the Mike Habs post-game show. And as usual, if you enjoy my commentary, give me a big thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment on this stream or on this video once it gets fully uploaded as well. And of course, give me a follow on Twitter and on Instagram at Mike Langer for both. And this has been a Habs post-game show here on Langer at the Mike. Another tough overtime loss, unfortunately. But guess what? I'll be going live again after Friday night's game against the Canucks, a rare Friday night game for the Canadiens at home. Can't think of the last time or how often the Habs play at home at the Bell Center on Friday. But thank you again so much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.